Thank you for having me. I was having some problems with my microphone earlier, so if there are any issues, definitely let me know in the chat. But as Christy mentioned, my name is Melissa Wu. I am the project manager at the GNOME Foundation for the Community Engagement Challenge. And today I'm going to talk to you a little deviation from the previous presentations and programming and go a little bit lighter, a little bit fuzzier to helpful hints for creating award-winning responses to grants, challenges, and RFPs, or request for proposals. All right, so here we go. So a little bit about me. I am in California in the United States. I went to the University of Pennsylvania, where I received an undergraduate degree in sociology, and then the University of Southern California, where I received a master's in business administration. I worked for a number of years as a technology consultant, where I spent time creating requests for proposals, responding to requests for proposals, and evaluating requests for proposals. I also own and started a travel agency where, as part of my responsibilities, and sort of related to travel, but not really, I'm a grant manager. And so I have spent time responding to grants, creating them, and evaluating them. And then with the GNOME Foundation, as I said, I am the Community Engagement Challenge Manager. And through that program, we created a challenge, and we put out a request for responses, and then worked with the judges to help evaluate those responses. So all in, probably spent time reviewing, creating, and responding to over thousands of requests for proposals over the last, I don't know, 10 years or so. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the Community Engagement Challenge, which was an opportunity that was created earlier this year and launched in April of 2020. We did it in partnership with Endless in order to find projects that would encourage individuals or teams to submit stimulating ideas that would connect the next generation of coders to the FOSS community, improve the coding skills of beginner coders by introducing them to the FOSS community, and then encouraging FOSS community participation for years to come. We received over 150 proposals in the first phase, and actually we just closed phase 2 in early November, and we'll be kicking off phase 3 in December. That's an overview of the program, but you're probably wondering why I'm sharing this with you. Well, of the 150 applications we received, we didn't receive very many from, oops, I hit the wrong button. We didn't receive, oh, I hit the wrong button again. Sorry, hold on. Presentation. I'm sorry, give me a second to try and make my screen larger so I can see the presentation. We didn't receive very many submissions from the Asian side of the world. And I don't know if this was because of awareness, or because of a lack of interest, or a lack of confidence in how to apply. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this presentation is to make sure that you're aware of opportunities like this challenge, because I hope that we do this again in the future. And so now you can say you are aware that these might happen again. And I want to improve your confidence in applying for something like this, so that you know that you are setting yourself up for success in responding to these opportunities. And so now you're aware. So congratulations, you're aware of an opportunity. I call it an opportunity very generally, but this could be a grant, it could be a request for proposal, it could be a challenge or a contest. But it is in fact an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to share about your project, and an opportunity for somebody to give you some support, whether it's a financial support, whether it's management support, whether it's, and when I say financial or management, you know, I'm really talking about money. So now that you've found the opportunity, what does that mean for you? I really don't like how this is. I'm sorry. Let me try and fix this. I'm trying to do a bigger screen. Oh, here we go. Now that you found the opportunity, you want to review it very carefully. you're going to want to read the directions. And I know, let me back up by saying, I know some of these things may be very, very obvious to some of you. And I can appreciate that. But these are points that are continually missed in every single evaluation, every single response that I've seen. For some reason, it's not as straightforward as it might sound. So I'm hoping to give you a step-by-step guide for how to successfully submit a positive application. So number one, you want to review the opportunity, and that means reading the directions. For the Community Engagement Challenge, we specifically said, right around here, we are looking for X, Y, and Z. So we tell you exactly what we're looking for. You also want to make sure you're aware of the goals of the opportunity. What are they trying to achieve by putting out this opportunity? So again, for the Community Engagement Challenge, we said, what are the goals of this opportunity? And then we answered it. Once you review the whole thing, you want to make sure you understand the rules. This is sometimes called the terms and conditions. Partly you want to do this to make sure that you are eligible to participate. So in some cases, there are limitations for how old you can be, whether you're a student or a non-student, whether you're working or you're not working. Sometimes there are limitations on your team size. Can you have as large of a team as you want? Is it a 2-member team, a 3-member team? And then sometimes there are country restrictions. You have to be from a certain area, or submissions from other areas might not be accepted. So you want to make sure that you have reviewed this and understand it, and that you are eligible for the opportunity. Because it would be horrible to go through the whole thing and then realize, oh no, I can't participate. One suggestion would be to read the frequently asked questions, or the FAQs. Here, the organizers have anticipated where things might need to be explained a little bit more, and anticipated what your questions might be. And so some of your answers could probably be found in this section. So now you've decided, okay, this is a great opportunity, and I'm going to apply for it. What I suggest is that you create a plan. Make a checklist of all the required documentation and deadlines to make sure you avoid any easy mistakes. I also like to actually make a list of all the questions, so I know as I'm filling out the application what I need to respond to and how I need to respond to it. Now, number 4, I know, may seem so obvious, but absolutely make sure you follow the directions. Some opportunities require you to fill out a pre-application before you can submit your response. Others ask you to send an email saying, hey, I'm interested in applying. Please expect a response from me. And then others don't ask for anything at all. So just make sure you check that you don't have to do anything before submitting your final application. I also want to emphasize the second bullet. If a question has a character or word limit, please make sure you stay under the limit. There's a reason why the organizers have put a limitation on your response. And it's generally because they want to see if you can present your opportunity or your response in a succinct manner. In some cases, the boxes that you're filling out may limit how many characters or words you can put in there. And in other cases, it might not. So you'll need to be aware of it yourself. I would say about half of the applications, so of the 150 we received for the Community Engagement Challenge, about 40% of them went over the word limit. For some organizations, this might invalidate your application immediately. For others, they may just cut you off at the word count or the character count. We were a little bit more flexible and allowed all the applications to come through, but not everybody would do that. The other thing to be aware of is to make sure that you submit your opportunity in the language that they're requesting you submit it in. For us, our judges are primarily English speakers, and so we ask that all applications be sent in English. Here's an example of one application that we received, not in English. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to translate it, and it's not really my responsibility to translate it. but unfortunately we were not able to accept this application. I will tell you though that we did give the opportunity for this person to resubmit. However, they chose not to. At least I think they did, since they never responded. We received some other applications that were all in English and then had 2 sections that were in a different language. I believe this person probably cut and pasted the response in and then forgot to translate it. So if you're going to do your response in your native language, which is totally fine, please make sure that you translate all of the sections before submitting your final response. So you've decided to apply. You're in the process of completing the application. I've already given you some hints, but here are some more. You want your application to tell a story. And in doing so, you want to create a roadmap for your judges. And when I say a telling a story, I mean having a sort of a start, a middle, and an end. By putting your questions on a separate document as you're filling this out, by looking at all the questions together, it'll help you craft your story a little bit more. That being said, you want to make sure you're answering your questions directly. So you want to make it easy for the judges to find your answers. You don't want to have them dig around for your response. And that's partly what the roadmap is for. So you want to avoid responses like, please see question 3 for my response, or answer above, or answer below. If the judges and the organizers are asking you for repeat information, there's a reason for that. And you don't want to have your judges going back and forth, trying to dig for your answers. If they're going through hundreds of applications, they just will not spend the time doing that. You also want to avoid inserting links without an explanation. So something like check out and then a particular website. You know, some judges and organizers may click on it and dig into it a little bit, but others may not have the time and may not want to spend the time on it. And so you'll want to put in an explanation for why you're including this web link. You could say something like, to see the history of our project, please click here, or to avoid inundating you with all of our fantastic images, we've uploaded them to this website, please click here. And that way, at the very least, the judges know what they're looking for. You also absolutely want to customize your answers to the goals or mission. So one of the responses we got was to this challenge of engaging beginning coders in the FOSS community. I wish to increase the egg supply of my village. Well, you know what? That's totally fine. That's a perfectly acceptable response to this challenge if the individual had said, you know, by teaching the children in my community about free and open software, or by creating a program to count eggs so that we can then anticipate where our increases and decreases might be. However, they did not customize their answers to the goals and missions of the challenge. This is particularly important if you're cutting and pasting your responses from other challenges or other grants that you're applying for. You absolutely want to make sure that you edit your response enough to fit the opportunity that you're applying for. You also want to make sure that you change any names that you might have. You know, if you say, I'm so excited to apply for the GNOME Foundation Community Engagement Challenge, and then you cut and paste that response and you apply for a grant from, another organization, you absolutely want to make sure that you change the proper names in your response. When crafting your story, it helps to ask the question, why? Why am I including this? Why would the judges feel that this is important? Why do I feel that this is important? In responding to the question why, it will create a stronger application for evaluation. It's also helpful to reuse words in the question, both to guide the evaluators that your answer is now coming up, but also to help organize your thoughts. So for example, one question we had: how does your entry introduce the FOSS community to beginning coders? A strong answer would start with, my entry introduces the FOSS community to beginning coders by, and then you would list why it would. It focuses your answers. It also focuses the judge's attentions to that section of your response. Now, without a leading question like this, I might have to read through your entire paragraph trying to figure out where and how are they answering this question. Something like this makes it much easier to evaluate your response. So the evaluation is complete. Excuse me, your submission is complete, and now it's time to submit it. The very first thing I want to encourage you to do is spell check. If you have written it in a different language, you're going to want to translate it and then spell check in the language that you'll be submitting the application in, or your response in. You also want to make sure you're grammar checking it, especially if you've done a translation of some sort. Now, I've put number 9, proofread your final submission after spelling and grammar checks, because I think it's much easier to ask someone to evaluate and proofread your final submission before you submit it once it's been spell checked and grammar checked. So it's helpful to have a second set of eyes, whether it's a colleague or a friend or a family member, help review the submission so that they can point out any holes that you might have or help catch any spelling or grammar errors that might appear. You want to make sure that you submit your required documentation in the requested format. And this is why that checklist is helpful. That checklist will help you go through and say, okay, they want a PDF, or they want it to be in free and open software, or I needed to upload it to GitLab, or I need to upload to a Dropbox of some sort, or there may be a file size limit. You'll want to make sure that you meet those requirements, because again, there's a reason why those parameters have been put in place. And I know this is a top 10 list, but I also wanted to, I included this 11th one because you want to make sure you meet the deadline. If there's a deadline, you need to allow plenty of time to enter your submission. It's not the organizer's fault, nor is it their responsibility. If your system crashes, you can't find your login, you haven't downloaded the correct programs, you lose internet connection, and all that sort of stuff. So make sure that you save enough time in order to anticipate anything that might come up. For the Community Engagement Challenge, we actually had someone say, you know, they were sick that day and they couldn't send in their submission, and could they send it in late? So there were other things that come up that you just can't anticipate. So you'll want to make sure that you leave enough time to upload your submission. One thing that I suggest is before you do a final upload, before you even start inputting anything, you want to save your answers. Again, you never know if you're going to lose connection halfway through. You never know if you're going to have to go back and refer to something, and you'll want to have a record of what you responded. If for whatever reason you need to ask for an extension, always ask before the deadline. I don't encourage you that you ask for it, but if you have to ask before the deadline. If you ask after the deadline, I guarantee the answer will likely be no. But wait, what if I have some questions along the way? Now, we've kind of walked through how to complete a response to an opportunity, but there are other aspects of responding to an opportunity that I didn't cover. One of them is what happens if you have questions along the way. Well, number 1, go ahead and ask, but make sure you consolidate your questions. Don't inundate the judges or the organizers. I've given you an example over here of my email. All of the blues are from one participant, one person who is asking me questions. This was over a maybe 45-minute period. And every single email was one question, separate questions. I asked you, can you please put your questions all in one email? They didn't do that. So you want to make sure that you consolidate your questions to avoid inundating the judges or the organizers. You also do not want to ask for a personal review of your proposal. So, for example, we have provided, this is one of the questions we got. We have provided 3 alternatives for submissions. Please let us know which would suit the guidelines of the challenge. If you're asking an organizer or a judge that question, it means you don't know. And the judges or the organizers are not in the role to let you know. That is something that you need to figure out. What I would suggest is phrasing the questions in a general way to avoid the appearance of favoritism. Now, if I had responded to this email and said, well, I think you should do option 1, or option 3 looks like the best bet, that would be giving that team an unfair advantage. However, if you wanted to ask a question, say, can the judges provide feedback on opportunities that would best fit the challenge, and have it be general to the community, then you'll have the opportunity for the organizers or the judges to say, yes, we can do that, or no, we can't. And then you can go in and ask, well, we provided 3 alternatives, which one should we do? But you've at least opened the door to asking whether you can do this or not, without asking the judges or the organizers to favor your application in some way. Here are a few more hints for responding to grants proposals and there's a common thing, RFPs. If there are Q&A sessions or forums or opportunities to ask questions, I encourage you to attend. Other teams might be asking questions that you haven't thought of. However, if you attend, you don't want to dominate or monopolize the conversation. My personal belief, and this is just mine and it doesn't apply to anybody else, my personal belief is when I attend these sessions, I actually actively try not to ask any questions. If there's something that is relevant and extremely important to the success of my application, sure, I'll ask it. But otherwise, I'm just there to observe and to listen and to see what all the other questions are. As I mentioned in the previous slide, frame your questions generally. Don't ask individual project questions. The organizers and the judges will have a hard time answering individual project questions because they do not want to favor one project over another. But generally framed questions are most likely always welcome. Make it easy for the judges to find your responses. So as you're filling out the application, don't get caught up in your story that you lose sight of the question. Answer the question specifically, and I encourage you not to put in a lot of sort of fluff or extra information that's not relevant to that specific question. Most opportunities will give you an additional section at the end or somewhere in the application that says, what have we not asked you that you want to share with us? Or what additional information would you like to share with us? Many times there is not a word or character limit for the section. And this is the opportunity for you to add in every single other piece of information that might have been missing before. If the organizers or judges ask you a question, answer. If they ask it via email, make sure you respond. You don't want to ignore their emails or requests for additional information. And let me tell you, there were a number of proposals that we received that we sent a question back or asked for something, some point of clarification, and we did not receive any response at all. The example that I gave you of the one that was not in English that we needed to be translated never responded. So they missed out on the opportunity. One sort of just suggestion, but obviously not a requirement, stay engaged. Follow the opportunity on social media, send a tweet, retweet, follow all that if you're on social media. You know, and if you're not, that's okay too, but the more engaged you are, the more hints you will pick up for what type of application and opportunity they are looking, or response, excuse me, that they are looking for. A big don't, though, is don't make fun of the opportunity in a public forum. Remember, Twitter is public. other social media places are public as well, even Telegram and Rocket Chat, public forums. Make sure you're asking them for something. You're asking the organizers for money or advice or something like that. You don't want to make fun of them in a place where they might see it. And let me tell you, that has happened during the challenge as well. It does not leave a good impression. So, to summarize, you find the opportunity, you review the opportunity, you understand the rules. One suggestion is to read the frequently asked questions. Once you've decided the opportunity is going to be right for your project, you want to create a plan, follow the directions, and do what they ask, and then tell your story. But make sure you answer your questions directly. Helpful hints are to make a checklist of the required documents and deadlines to avoid using mistakes, and make sure you answer the question, why? Why is this important? Why am I including this? Once the submission is ready to go, you'll want to spell check it, grammar check it, proofread the document, have a second person proofread the document, submit all required documentation, and make your deadline. Before you submit, though, you'll want to save your answers, and if you need to ask for an extension, ask before the deadline. Thank you guys all for joining me today. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm also giving you my email and my social media, my Instagram. That's not my Instagram. Oh, yeah, that's my Instagram. And my LinkedIn. And I've also included this link for you, gnome.org support.gnome. If you like challenges like this, if you want to see more challenges like this, or if you want a challenge specific to your area, we're always looking for financial support to make that happen. So this link will take you to a place that you can donate to support GNOME, as well as challenges like this. Thank you all for joining, and if there's any questions I can answer, please let me know.
Thank you, Melissa, for your presentation. We can wait for if we have any questions from our chat. Ken is writing, so maybe any question is coming. Okay, so I guess that we don't have any questions coming.
Christy, actually, one question I'd like to ask, if anybody could write in the chat, has the audience here that has heard this presentation, have you guys heard of the Community Engagement Challenge? Is this the first time that you've heard about it? I suppose I could make a poll, but if you could just respond with, yes, I've heard about it before, no, that would be helpful. Great. Oh, first time? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Fantastic. Ubuntu podcast, that's great. So for all you first timers, keep your eyes out for the second opportunity. We don't have anything yet, but fingers crossed it's coming up. What kind of links are you looking for? Oh, donation links? Here, I will type this one in too. Thank you, Luna. Thank you, Caroline. And we have the challenge link too. Caroline, would you mind adding the challenge link as well, just so people can follow along? There's also a link there, I believe, to add your email address so that we can give you updates. We'll be declaring the phase 2. Thank you so much, Caroline. We'll be announcing the phase 2 winners. So the teams that'll be going to phase 3 in early December. So please keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending out a message as to when that'll be. Thank you everybody for joining. Please feel free to drop me an email if you have any questions, or reach out to me on social media. Have a wonderful rest of your, I think there's another, there's a break and then another presentation after mine. So enjoy.